Verse 7 in chapter 24, Psalm 24. Interesting. Remember, we spoke about the facts that everything belongs to God. It started off that everything belongs to God. King Solomon wrote this. King David, wrote this for the future to be said when they bring the ark into the Holy of Holies, into the temple. And King David was emphasizing how everything in life belongs to God no matter what. And if you want to get close to God, be honest. Niki kapayim of our levav, which was verse 4 we did last week. Be honest, be straight, and therefore comes verse 5 and verse 6, and therefore we will be able to carry God's blessings and give God's blessings. And we finished off in verse 6 that it doesn't say, it says, Zeh dar shav, the people of this generation who behave this way are people who search for Hashem. Mevache panecha Yaacov Sela, it says Yaacov and not Yisrael. We learned this because Yaacov comes from the word Akev, which is the heel, that even Jews who are feeling themselves who are on the bottom, really are not on the bottom. They hold up the nation. We need every single Jew, and every Jew has the great potential of getting close to God. We're up to verse 7. Su'u sha'arim rasheichem. Lift up your heads in honor. V'nosu pischei olam. Lift up your heads and honor the gates of the holy temple. Be raised up doors of God's everlasting home. V'yavai melech hakavod, so the glorious king can enter. And verse 8, Miza melech hakavod, who is this glorious king? Hashem Izus v'gibar, Hashem gibar melchama. It is God who is strong and mighty. It is God who is mighty in war. I will do the last two verses. Verse 9, Se'u shi'arim rasheichem, lift your heads in honor, gates of the holy temple. Usu'u pischei olam, and raise yourselves up, the doors of God's everlasting home. V'yavei melech hakavod, so the glorious king can enter. Mi'u zeh melech hakavod, who is the glorious king? Hashem Tzevaka is the God of all creations. Hu melech hakavod sela, he is the glorious king forever. This is referring to the time of later on King Solomon, when he will bring in the Holy of Holies. He will finally bring them into the gates and to the doors of God and to the gates of God and to the glorious God. But this is talking about more than our commentaries say. This is not only talking about the gates of the temple. This is talking about our hearts. Our hearts, my friends, are the gates and the doors to our emotions. Our gates are the hearts to our emotions. And we say to open up our gates, we're talking about opening up our hearts. Open up our hearts and have more emotions to God. We consist of two main faculties in our body. And that is the heart, which houses all our emotions and our feelings, and the brain. Sometimes we try very hard to use our brain to understand God. And we have to understand that one thing, being that God is infinite and our minds, our brains are finite, there are only certain levels that we can understand. The rest has to come from our heart to God, and that is our faith in God. The more we learn, the more we delve into godliness, the more we'll understand godliness. But we have to understand, King David is telling us that our hearts have to be above our brains. In other words, our faith, we have to know one thing. Faith has to be above intellect. Intellectually, you can learn all you want, but there's no way intellectually that we can understand godliness. The greatest philosophers have tried. The greatest scientists have tried. And like I discussed with someone this week, that when the scientists can't explain something, they have two words that they call it. And I understand that. It's called Mother Nature. We call it God. Mother Nature, as I say all the time, nature is God remaining anonymous. Okay? The sun is Mother Nature. The sun rising, the sun setting. Look at a sunset. That is Gadlus HaBorei. That is the greatness of Hashem talking to us and saying, I am here with you. That, in a way, is God saying, Emir Hashem, I'll see you in the morning. Have a good night. God is in the time zones, and now it's night, and someplace else it's turning into day. It's an amazing, amazing thing. This is all above and beyond our intellect, because we don't understand it. We don't understand how it happens every morning in a calculated time. At the same time, we can't get that. Okay? And it doesn't stop for any of us. Except, of course, for Joshua. It stopped when Joshua said, we still have a few hours we have to win the war. And he prayed to God that the sun should stop setting a few more hours to give him more time of daylight. Okay, Hashem Ishtarmi said, sun, stop. It's an amazing thing. And if we look at our whole life like that, says David HaMelech, our whole life is amazing. Our whole life is just crazy how things work out. From our bodies, to the sun, to the grass, to the animals, everything is just amazing, to the pandemic virus. Everything. It's the same God. We have to remember that. It's the same God that said, world, it's time for the world to shut down and to start thinking more about values in life. And that's what we're talking about here. Se'u shi'arim rasheichem. Open up your gates and your doors. And raise your heads. Meaning, open up your emotions, your heart. Open up your eyes and see that godliness in everything. And not only in everything and in every creation, see that godliness in every man, woman, and child. It's godliness. We look at our children, we look at our spouses, we look at our husbands, we look at our wives, and we see godliness. We have to look and just open up our eyes. And that's what David HaMelech is saying. Lift your heads, open up your hearts. Open up your hearts, let God in your hearts. And like I've said many times, what is true faith? Do you think true faith is believing in something that we can't see and saying, boom, it's here, magic? Baloney, that's not faith. Faith in God is, and I say this all the time, and I'll never stop saying it because I believe it with a complete heart and complete faith, as they say, making God relevant to our lives. Not keeping God just in the synagogue. What do you think? This is a pandemic in heaven and God just has to stay now in quarantine for the rest of his life in the synagogue? Or in the study halls? No. Once we leave that synagogue, God is still with us. And when we walk into our homes, God is still with us. And we walk into our office, God is still with us. And that's why we have to start making God more relevant to our lives, more part of our lives, living more godliness. It's an unbelievable fact now, especially, Tisha B'Av is coming up. And Tisha B'Av, right after Tisha B'Av, 3 weeks after Tisha B'Av, we start blowing the shofar. It's the month of Elul, which means in less than 2 months it's Rosh Hashanah. And what does that mean? That means on Rosh Hashanah we crown Hashem again. We're getting, so to speak, reacquainted with our leader, with our king, with our master. We're crowning him. Melech al kol ha'olam, we're going to say. King on the whole world. We cannot just come into Rosh Hashanah, right? And walk into Shul Rosh Hashanah daytime and say, "Hi, I'm here. Honey, I'm home." It doesn't work that way. It means preparation. Preparation of feeling godliness, preparation of living godliness, preparation of sleeping godliness and breathing godliness. That's what life is all about. It's brought down in Sfarim and Holy Scriptures and books. It says as follows. And everyone should take this to heart. This is an amazing, amazing concept. Every mitzvah a person does, and every trial and tribulation a person goes through, he is remaking his personality. It's a whole remake of his personality, which means as follows. Yesterday, a mitzvah came to my hand, to my opportunity. I had an opportunity to accomplish a mitzvah, and I didn't. Today, the same mitzvah comes to me. Another opportunity to accomplish that mitzvah. I can say one of two things. I can have a new start now, or I can say, I failed yesterday. I had this trial yesterday, this experience yesterday, and I failed. I'm going to fail again, so forget about it. Forget about the whole thing. Say our sages, no! We can't base today on yesterday's failure. Today is a clean day, a clean slate. We wake up every morning with a clean page in our book. We are writing books of life. My book is going to be authored by me personally, by the way, Yankee Orimland. And that's what the name of my book, by the way. Yankee's Story. And by the way, if you didn't realize it, you're each authoring your own books. You're writing your own books of life. And it's yesterday, I went wrong. I did a few things wrong, or the day before. And there are a few coffee stains on my pages. I wake up this morning, wow, fresh, clear slate, a white page, wow. Now what am I going to do with it? Am I going to spill all over the page, or am I going to draw beautiful pictures? Am I going to write beautiful words with a beautiful story? What am I going to do on this page? And I'm going to repeat something that I say all the time, but it's so true. And people don't realize it. And because of that, it holds people back from accomplishing. We say every morning in our prayers, morning prayers, or at least we should be saying it. Elokai, my God, Nishama Shenasata, be the soul that you gave me. Tahorahi, it is pure. Now wait a minute. Last night, I did who knows what. Yesterday, I might have gone to McDonald's. The day before to Burger King. And you know what? I didn't do this, and I didn't daven, and I didn't go to shul, and I didn't put on film this yesterday morning, obviously because it's Shabbos, but if it would have been a weekday, and I didn't do this, and I didn't do that, and I did. And all of a sudden, I wake up this morning, and guess what? I put on film this morning, I come to shul, and I say to God, Hashem, Elokai, my God, Neshama, the soul, Shenasata, you gave me, Tahora, it's pure. Nah. What do you mean it's pure? Who am I fooling? God knows it all. The last week I really messed up. The last week I didn't keep this and that and the other, and I ate and I did it. What? And now I can come and say, Tahori, it's pure? The answer is because it is pure. We're writing our own books. We're predicting our own future. Predicting the future of our lives. And whatever we live now, this moment, we will not be able to relive again. Never. This morning it's a clean slate. It's a clean page. Am I learning from my previous mistakes and having beautiful pictures written on my page? Am I learning from my previous mistakes and writing beautiful things? Poetry to God. Not just Shakespeare, but real poetry to God, who's a Shakespeare of all Shakespeares? Or am I going to spill again? Am I going to do the same silly mistakes again? Unfortunately, there are so many people that think life's a game. And we go one time, two times, another mistake, another, and then we say, oh, I'm sorry. But you know what? A lot of people do the same silly mistakes. Now this morning we woke up with a clean page, a clean slate. Are we going to learn from our mistakes or not? That's what we mean, that every morning we can redo and remake our own personalities. How? Having a closer relationship with God. You know, God is, by the way, the one, if God forbid someone is sick or something happens, who are you running to? Rabbi, can you make me a Mishaberach? All of a sudden God matters now? God doesn't matter other times? Rabbi, can you daven for me? How many times do I get a call from people that have no connection whatsoever to Judaism, to God, and they're in a rut health-wise, and I get a call, Rabbi, can you please make that prayer for me? All of a sudden, then God matters. That's because we don't have hope. But does God really matter, or are we saying, if there is a God, if it's true, and so maybe it'll work? We can, no matter where we are in life, we can always reinforce our relationship with Hashem. It all depends if we open up our hearts, like David HaMelech said at the end of this chapter of Psalms. Are we going to take our hearts and open our gates and let God in or not? And I'll conclude with something that I always say. Someone once came to the Rebbe of Kotsk, the Kotsker Rebbe, and said, Rebbe, where's God? Where is Hashem? And the answer, the Kotsker Rebbe said, wherever you let him in, that's where he is. So my good friends, my dear friends, let's open up our hearts. Let's live a little more godliness. Right around the corner is the end of the year, the beginning of the new year, Hebrew year. Let's be able to come to God and say, I might have done something wrong this year, but the way I finished off this year, I redid my entire personality. Let's be friends, Hashem. And the only way really to be friends is, He wants to be friends with us. But you know, as much as you make your spouse or your friends relevant to your lives, that's how close you'll be. Hashem is the spouse of all spouses, and He has His hand stretched out to us and wants to be with us and wants to be close to us. How much do we really want to be close to Hashem? And that all depends how relevant we make Hashem in our lives, not only in our religious lives, when we daven and put on tefillin and light Shabbos candles, but to our daily lives, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. How relevant is Hashem to our daily lives? So my dear friends, let's rock and roll with Hashem. He's ready to rock and roll with us. By the way, he's got steps. He knows how to dance. He's got all the moves. He only wants us to move a little closer to him. Have a wonderful day and a wonderful week.